This is the culmination of many decades of exploration with quantum touch. I first learned about quantum touch back in 1978 when an old man, Robert Rasmussen, demonstrated things that I didn't think were possible. I'm watching my jaw fall to the floor as I'm seeing him touch my girlfriend's hips, and they just rolled back into alignment, and cranial bones moving in and working up and down her spine with this energy I had been working with, but I didn't know how to focus and amplify. I was astounded. I didn't even think these things were possible at all. I thought he must have a rare gift and I would never learn to do it. And in the course of the day, I saw I could actually move the cranial bones. I saw my girlfriend's scoliosis 50% straighten out in about 8 minutes. I became his friend, his neighbor. I apprenticed with him. I radically evolved his work, gave it a name, Quantum Touch. He had no name for it. And this, what we're going to show today, and what we're going to talk about today, is some very deep evolutionary discoveries that have come 30, 40 years after this. So from 1978 till now, that's a long time ago. That's when I first learned to do this work. Let me introduce my co-hosts. There's Jennifer Taylor, the CEO and Chief Magical Officer of Quantum Touch. Wave your hand, Jennifer. And then there's Deborah Gair, who has been working with me on a brand new seminar we're calling Becoming Ageless, and Henri Furgiuele, who is one of the first 2 or 3 instructors of Quantum Touch. He's been with us over 20 years now and has brought incredible depth and wisdom to the work as well. And so I feel very honored to be able to share this with you folks today. So, you think, Jennifer, enough people have signed in and we're ready to begin talking about this new work?
Looks like a few people are still joining. So
Okay.
yeah, let's give people a couple more minutes to join, and then we can get started. Yeah.
Okay.
If everyone has questions, you can put your questions or comments in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat. And also, if you'd like to let us know where you're from, go ahead and say hello in the chat, and I'd love to hear from you. And yes, or in the Q&A section.
And if we have time, you go ahead. If we have time, Jennifer can read your questions and our little panel will be able to answer them.
Oh, actually, you can put it in the Q&A section because it looks like the chat is disabled for some reason. So I will go ahead and monitor the question and answer. And let's see if I can. Yes, so I don't know why it's disabled there, but you can put everything in the Q&A and I'll be reading the Q&A. So sorry about the chat situation. Any questions there? Well, thank you.
Okay, so I think it's time for us to begin. What do you think, Jennifer?
Yes, let's get started, and I'll be monitoring the Q&A for people.
Thank you for coming, everybody. There's many who will watch this after we've recorded it. We've had well over 1,000 people signing up for this particular call. So I welcome everybody, and I'm very excited to announce a brand new workshop and a relatively new workshop that most people haven't experienced yet. And we have Deborah Gair, one of our, who's been brainstorming with me on the Ageless seminar about slowing, stopping, and potentially reversing aging. We both had a meditation. We both saw in a meditation the same technique. And Henri, who at the same day, we both had an insight on the slope breath technique. We both discovered that at the same day. And Deborah's been with us for well over 20 years now, teaching all the different workshops. And so I'm very grateful to have this company with us today. So Deborah and Henri, where do you think we should begin? Should we talk about becoming more? What do you think?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So for those who haven't really studied quantum touch, we are going to also be making available a beginning workshop, a hands-on live beginning workshop to get people up to speed. But the Becoming More workshop is not a beginner's workshop. If you take the beginning class just before, you'll be ready for it. But people need to know how to run the energy with quantum touch. The energy is what they call the life force energy, the chi, the ki, the prana. Dr. Beverly Rubik found 70 odd words, 76 or 8 words that different cultures were using for this life force energy. But the scientists call it woo or nonsense, but it's a real energy that we can use. Now, how do we do it? We're using breathing and body awareness exercise to amplify this life force energy, to focus and amplify it. What it does is it stimulates the self-healing mechanisms inside people to bring down pain, accelerate self-healing, and stimulate the body's own spiritual and biological intelligence to do what's necessary. Therefore, we don't see side effects because it's just the body healing itself. The body healing itself doesn't cause problems. And it's like an extraordinarily important basic human ability that we all have. Well, it was about, I don't know, maybe about 20 years ago, I had a really fascinating experience where I was in a cafe talking to my friend Carolyn. And she said, oh, I never had to study in school. I always got straight A's. I said, well, how did you do that? She said, well, I just have a photographic memory and I remember everything. And I said, God, I wish I had a photographic memory. I had to work really hard just to get B's. And she said, well, I just looked at the page and I knew everything. Oh, okay. I said, well, why don't you give me your memory? No, I'm just joking around. I don't really think this is going to do anything. She said, well, how do I do that? I don't know. Just take your memory and put it inside my head. So I'm just playing. But she's kind of miming like she's grabbing her memory and she's focusing and she's putting it inside my head. And of course, I don't notice anything. But as I'm going to bed that night and I'm getting myself tired enough to turn on my side and go to sleep, which is how I do it, I suddenly was thinking of a friend I hadn't seen in years. And there's his face right in front of me, like I'm looking at it. It's more clear than any visualization I'd ever had. I'm thinking, wow, that's really interesting. But the name of this person was spelled in gold letters underneath. And I'm thinking, that's really weird. And then I thought of a second friend, and there she is, right in front of me, as clear as anything, and the name spelled in gold letters. And here's a third friend, gold letters, and the face absolutely sparkling clear. And I'm so fascinated. I'm reading the letters forward and backwards, and they don't move, like they're printed in the air in sparkling gold. And I'm reading them backwards and they don't move. It's fantastic. And I'm thinking, wow, this is really exciting and this is fun. And then all of a sudden, my body was racked in fear. Hey, what is this? That was a fun experience. Why am I mean, it took me like almost an hour to go to sleep. I was so nervous. My whole body was like scared. When I saw Carolyn a couple of days later, I said, Carolyn, when you think of people you haven't seen in a long time, do you suddenly see their face right in front of you with a name spelled in gold letters underneath? Her jaw drops. She says, how did you know? She said, I'm like a machine. And that gave me the idea that we could actually share states of consciousness with each other directly. But it also informed me that I was picking up her fear. And we needed to create ways of doing it without taking the subconscious garbage that's in there along with it. So in the level 2 quantum touch workshop, I had a section called sharing the gifts. But to be honest, I knew it was possible and I knew we should try, but I didn't know exactly how to do it effectively. And so what happened was I figured out over decades working on it. How do we do this? How do we do this? And then one day I got the download. And that's what we got to do in Cancun and in Florida when we did the Becoming More workshops for the first and second time. And we're going to be doing it again in October in Cancun at an extraordinary resort. So Deborah or Henri, you want to chime in and talk about this a little bit?
I've been really blessed to be able to have attended the very first one of these, both of these workshops in Florida and Cancun. And we were voting to return to the same place we initiated, Richard initiated the class, because it was an oasis. It was an amazing experience. Being on the water with this incredible nature, the energy of Mexico is there. And this incredible work where you have 60 dynamic, powerful, heart engaged individuals right there sharing their gifts. First of all, going deeper and understanding what their gifts are, which is a really important part of the process. And then sharing them in specific ways Richard was asking us to work with. And I came out of that class profoundly changed. Changed my dietary habits, my body changed, my consciousness opened up in ways. And I've been teaching energy work since 2000. So, a long time, and things shifted. I would love to hear your experiences, Deborah, because we haven't had time to chat after the class.
Yeah. So the first Becoming More that I was fortunate enough to attend was in Florida, and it was absolutely magnificent. And one of the most important and most beautiful things about being there in Becoming More was that there were so many quantum touch people there. It was like being in a beautiful, friendly community, and automatically there was, everyone breathing and sweeping the energy, sharing the love, coming from the same place. And, the gifts, I mean, folks were sharing their gifts, and some of them were utterly extraordinary. I remember one lady saying that she had the ability to switch off pain just like that, and wow. What a gift. And this other gentleman saying that, he could speak fluent Spanish. And so we were sharing all of these gifts with one another. And that night, I dreamt in Spanish. And it was like, I could really understand what the whole dream was about. It was just like I knew what the dream was about. And even the next day, I had some Spanish words that I knew the meaning of intuitively. So that was really amazing. That was like a download of Spanish. Really exciting stuff. And just being there with everyone, extraordinary people.
I'm so excited. It turns out that we just have a word love.
Yeah.
It's like one word. And some Eskimos actually have 100 words for snow. But consider that each of the 7 major chakras is a source of love. So I met a man here in Mexico, and he is a first chakra lover. What does that mean? He makes sure everybody he loves has abundance. His whole family, they feel safe, they feel secure, there's plenty of money, and he holds the space of safety and security for everybody around him. But the second chakra is all about pleasure and creativity and openness and allowing and experiencing. Well, that's a whole form of love. And then the third chakra, emotional expression and so forth. How many flavors of love are there? We don't have language for this, but that's what this experience is about. So when you go into the room and somebody says, I just know how to adore people. That's what I do. I just adore. Yeah. And they say, okay, let me open myself up to it. So we form these 2 circles, and everybody's learned how to work energetically to take their gifts, put it inside another person. So we're not picking up the subconscious stuff that I was warned about back when I first came across this, how to do it, and you let it in. But you don't get it intellectually. You get it emotionally, and you get it in your body. And so it's like this body change. So then we get to this place where we need to let go of the old and embrace the new. So there's this mantra we talk about in class, like, don't hold back. Don't hold back the intensity of the emotion. If you feel pain and suffering and self-pity, feel it with intensity. Don't hold back. When you feel the joy and the love, open up to it. And in Cancun, I remember particularly, I was challenged at the end of the first day because I'm fairly isolated where I live. I don't really get a lot of appreciation, attention, people knowing my work, understanding what I'm about. And it was kind of a shock to me to be in a room of people grateful to me. I was like, oh my God, I didn't have a place for it inside because I'm not used to receiving the impact of my work on other people. So I was challenged. And by the second day, I was opening up to it much better. And then now I'm fully embracing it. And it feels incredibly good. But everybody, to some extent, is challenged. And the trick is, don't hold back. Let yourself feel it. Let yourself be changed by love. The definition of being loved is being changed by love. And that's what this whole thing is about. We're receiving the gifts from each other to be changed.
One thing I would love to emphasize here also, because in this exchange, we are working with our own inner intelligence. And I don't mean just the cerebral mental thinking part of ourselves, but the innate intelligence that knows how to heal a paper cut and, how to digest your food and how to grow taller, and all of these things that we do as a natural process. We are working with that innate intelligence in quantum touch. We call this the inner healer. That is wiser than, we can't even find car keys half the time. But the inner healer knows where everything is that needs to be adjusted at all levels. And so you're never forcing anything. We are just simply offering that vibration of love. And we know how to take that in because we've been using that as fuel from the minute we were here. So this is the beauty of quantum touch.
I think there's so much wisdom in that we choose and allow. That's the yang energy and the yin energy. So on every breath, we're choosing to move the body awareness and link it to the breathing and amplify the life force energy. And then we allow the energy to move through us and we allow ourselves to receive. So it's a constant masculine, feminine energy that's being shifted. It's not about gender, it's about energy. The energy of choosing, deciding, being powerful. The energy of allowing and receiving and being changed by that energy. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you want to cover about the becoming more that you want to talk about?
I'm still hearing feedback from Cancun class that was a year ago.
Yeah.
And we are still connecting. We're a supportive group. There's going to be connecting with each other. One of the things that surprised me so after the first workshop was the sense of community that came out of that, not only when you were there, but after you went home. After we're each in our distant spaces.
Yeah. One thing we did at that workshop, and we do it at the Becoming More workshop, is we take a picture of everybody on the second day of the workshop because we're waiting for them to connect to themselves more deeply. And then Henri creates this beautiful collage of all the attendees. You can see it on your phone and you can see everybody. And then what we do is we continue the workshop after it's over. Most workshops end at the end of the second day. But what we're actually doing is anytime you think about it, you just send your gifts to the entire group. And anytime you think about it, you can open up to allow yourself to receive the gifts. So at this next workshop, we're going to have, I think we have 70 spaces. I think 50 or more are available still at this workshop. And but the workshop doesn't end on day 2. It continues beyond that. And to the extent that you can choose to be open to receive, you can continue receiving daily, hourly, if you want to, from this workshop. So it's not like most workshops where, oh, it was great, but a week later you don't remember it. Because a week later, you're still enveloped in this energy if you open up to it and allow yourself to receive it. And that's what we call being changed by love. And that's what this whole workshop is. So we call it Becoming More. It's actually it's not a workshop, it's an experience. We call it the Becoming More experience because it's not about taking notes and learning something, although there is some notes and learning that does happen, but it's mostly 90% about the experience and how you can let it in and be changed. And like Deborah said, you're letting these gifts in that seem irrational to the logical mind, but they're still there. And to the degree that you can open up to them, because everybody has some gifts. And I had this idea about, I guess that would have been like early 80s. I was thinking, God, if I could just experience what other people are experiencing, I wouldn't have this. Other people don't have this problem I'm carrying. There are some people who don't have that problem that I'm carrying. And if we could just all share our gifts together, we would move into states of enlightenment very quickly, because we all have the gifts that other people want. But we think that love is just like a greeting card, with a sentiment or a behavior, but it's actually an energetic that allows us to truly become more. So that's what the Becoming More experience is going to be about. And if you're inspired, this cat banging into my chair. I got a cat that wants to say hello.
More.
Yeah, he wants to become more. Here's a big guy. So what I'd like to turn our attention to the brand new workshop that Deborah, Gair, and I have been working on every week. And we are very excited to announce this. And it's going to be called Becoming Ageless. And one of the things that we've noticed about just working with basic quantum touch appears to slow the aging process, because we're doing healing on ourselves every day. And so I'm going to be 76 in less than 2 months. No, in exactly 2 months, actually. And Deborah, do you want to?
Yeah, I'm going to be 53 this year, apparently.
And Henri?
I will be 73, 3, 4.
Yeah.
I don't remember, one of the two, something like that.
And Jennifer?
I'm busy
Jennifer?
answering people's questions. I'll be,
Okay.
how old am I? 53, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. The point is, I feel ageless because the other day, a couple months ago, I took a video of myself doing 50 perfect push-ups. I'm not getting weak. I'm not losing strength. So let's talk about the idea of becoming ageless, where you don't feel age. And that's what this workshop is going to be about: slowing, stopping, and I believe reversing aging. Now, even if you only reverse a day or two every day you're working, the joke about longevity is it takes a long time. But once you get past the point where you get the energy high enough and strong enough, it's possible to actually start taking it backwards. Now, Henri, Deborah and I we both came up with the same idea for amplifying the energy way beyond anything we've ever done before. And we figure if you get the energy high enough, strong enough, long enough, powerful enough, the body has the ability to heal itself even more completely. So in terms of aging, you look at the theories of aging, and they talk about the damage to the DNA. Well, it's been well known the DNA can heal itself. They talk about the telomeres, these little things at the end of the genes that get shorter and shorter, and when they get too short, the person dies. Well, the telomeres can get longer. They talk about the toxification of the cells. Well, we know that cells can detoxify. So what we're really talking about is the opposite of entropy. If we assume, generally speaking, that all systems break down over time. In fact, Schrodinger had the paradox. How come the universe is all about entropy, but life continues to regenerate all the time? That was his paradox. Like, how can life do this? Well, it's the life force energy. It's the chi, the prana, the ki, the life force that we're using and amplifying to be able to make this happen. So, Deborah, you want to bring up the picture of the water, of the salt crystals? So what I did was I did an experiment, very, very simple experiment. I made a saline solution. I got a microscope, and can you zoom in on the top one? I'm not sure you can, but anyway, the top picture is what most of the crystals look like when I hadn't run energy into it. And then the bottom one is a slide where I had run energy into it. It was the same saline solution. And what you see is better formed crystals by running energy. So you're reversing entropy. The word for reversing entropy is either neg entropy, but I prefer syntropy, where we're creating order from disorder. This would change the sciences, but they're afraid to study life force energy. Why don't we look at the next set of pictures? Let's go down a little lower. Okay. Yeah, there's this, bring it up a little higher on the screen so we can see both pictures. So this woman, how did this session happen? Did she run energy into her own hand, Deborah?
Actually, this session happened entirely distantly on Zoom.
Okay.
So I was just offering the energy to a group as we were experimenting. We were really playing with the Becoming Ageless energy. And so it was like a 15-minute session offering Becoming Ageless energy to the group, asking them to take a before and an after picture. And this lovely lady took photos of her hand.
And what did she say?
Yeah, she actually said it's much better than any hand cream she's ever used. Yeah.
It's fantastic. Okay, let's see the next set of pictures. Yeah, now let's just look at the top picture first. And you can see the crinkliness of the skin. And then 10 minutes of energy. Let's bring the other picture up a little higher. Yeah, it just turned into that from 10 minutes of running energy directly into the skin. So, and then we have one more set of pictures. Yeah, here's a woman before, and this is a selfie she took from that same session where you were offering energy, I believe.
Yes, just distantly on Zoom.
Yeah, and let's see the bottom picture. And then she took this selfie immediately afterwards, and it's like night and day. A vast difference.
Yeah.
And this is just from a 15-minute session. Okay, let's remove the pictures and let's see ourselves. Perfect. Yeah. So we're going to show you ways of amping the energy higher and being able to work on yourself every day, because automatically, if you're just learning basic quantum touch, it clearly slows the aging process. We do not represent people our age. It's just not even close. But when we can do it consciously and see how far we can raise the energy, we don't know the limits of what's possible. And when we see this kind of change happening from a single session, we're going to work on each other. We're going to work on ourselves. We're going to really explore the spiritual and metaphysical sides of the self-identity and the aging process. Deborah, do you want to say something about that you have so much to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just feel that Becoming Ageless is a real evolutionary and revolutionary step forward for quantum touch. It's really generating and harnessing a brand new kind of power. It's a whole new way of running the energy, actually, and really bringing it into the body in a different way also. So it's like really interesting and just so rejuvenating. It really is incredible.
Yeah, it's
Mm,
it is a new evolutionary step, and it feels like we're taking things to a whole new level
yeah.
with the work. It's like the basis, breathing and sweeping, is the foundation, but
Hmm.
we're going to amp it up
Yeah.
dramatically, and we're also going to help people shift their beliefs, attitudes, thoughts, feelings about the whole aging process, and work with people on many different levels to make it more viable. We're also going to work on each other as well
Yeah.
in the workshop. So I think it'd be good to tell people what's going on. We're going to offer 3 workshops together in Cancun, and we only have 70 seats available for each of these workshops. The first one is going to be a weekend, not a weekend, it's a 2-day workshop on level 1 quantum touch. For those who have read the book, watched the video, or want to brush up on their skills, it's going to be we have a couple of instructors. Henri will be one of the instructors, and Miriam is going to be the other one. And it's going to be getting you to be able to run the energy so well that you'd be ready for the Becoming More or the Ageless seminar. But we need people to be up to speed to take Becoming More, because we saw in one of the workshops there were some people who weren't running the energy well, and it just wasn't working very well. The workshop needs people to be skilled at being able to run energy, and this will bring people up to speed where they're really going to do a good job. And so I'm excited. There'll be a day off after the 2-day workshop, and then we'll do the Becoming More. And I think we've already sold about 20 seats to that one. So there's about 50 available. And then after the Becoming More, the next day, it's a 1-day workshop on the Becoming Ageless. And Deborah and I keep coming up with insights every week about, oh, we can add this and we can add this. So it's still in development, but we have enough.
Yeah.
We could do it today if we wanted to, but it's going to be even better by the time we're ready to do it.
And there's also an interesting piece of jewelry with the
Oh,
Becoming
yes.
More.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many people are aware of the quantum touch pendant. The quantum touch pendant was the development of my work on The Secret Nature of Matter. It's one of my books where I discovered that you could put consciousness into any physical object and you could test it by immediately untwisting a person's hips and cranial bones. I got to show scientists at University of Arizona this little thing. I had my pendant and I would have everybody, all the postdocs, measuring somebody's hips, and they'd be like really uneven. And the next guy would say, let me measure that. Oh yeah, it really is high. Let me see. Oh yeah, it's high. So 4 people were doing the measurements, and then I just touch their shoulder and say, boing, with intent of causing the alignment, and instantly the hips would be totally aligned, and so would the cranial bones. And after they'd measured about 7 people, with 4 people doing the measurements, they finally threw up their hands and said, well, there's no doubt this works. This is unquestionably real. And then 4 of the postdocs said they wanted to research and publish, and they bragged about their MRIs and CT scans and other equipment. And the first guy said, but if I do this, I know I'll never receive tenure at the university. And number 2, 3, and 4 said, yeah, this would be academic suicide. Then the head professor said he knew of no university anywhere in the world open to these discoveries. And he compared me to Ignaz Semmelweis, Gregor Mendel, James Lind, William Harvey, Galileo, Giordano Bruno, and others who couldn't be appreciated while they were alive, and said, you're probably not going to be known while you're alive, because this is just too far out. But this is the bridge between science and spirituality. It's the bridge between physics and metaphysics. This is the evolution of consciousness of the species. This is where we're going. We're going, and you will be able to exemplify and demonstrate these things yourself, because these are basic human skills. Anyway, I'm digressing. The point is, we've had a quantum touch pendant for a long time that's charged with the energy of quantum touch, and they're all charged. If you touch somebody with this pendant, you can immediately align somebody, but it doesn't work automatically. You have to have the intention of causing the alignment. You don't have to understand how the alignment works. You don't have to know about the sphenoid bone and how to run the energy. You just have to touch somebody and you can measure the hips, come down on top, feel, and then a moment later they'll be level. And the same with the occiput. Deborah and I are coming up with a pendant. Now, it's not available for sale yet. We're still manufacturing them, and we'll be able to announce it in a few weeks or so that we'll have them available. But this one's going to be charged with ageless energies. And so they're all going to be solid silver, and some of them will be covered in gold as well, but they'll all be silver. And we can't announce it, we can't sell it now, but as soon as we have them on order and we know when they'll be available, we will announce the availability of them. So that's coming. That's coming,
Yeah.
and they'll be available at the workshop as well.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions from the group that I think are worth addressing live.
Yeah.
So if you mind, the first question is, I have the Art of Youthing online, and how is the Becoming Ageless different than the Art of Youthing?
Yeah. The Art of Youthing was about 9 or 10 years ago. And it was a good try. But we're taking this in much deeper and more powerful directions. So the information there is still useful, but this is going to go far deeper and more powerfully than that attempted. It was like my first attempt at getting there. I knew I wanted to do it, but I didn't have the information or the tools or the knowledge to be able to do it at that time. So this is much better.
Great.
Next question.
Yeah. Somebody asked, are you saying that we can give our own healing gifts to others, send it to them, and so they can have these abilities also? They want more explanation about sharing the gifts.
Yeah, it's up to you. It's up to you how well you can receive. Some people receive better than others, like being able to suddenly dream in Spanish. That's crazy, but it's fantastic because it was real and it happened. So what happens here is that to whatever extent you can receive, yes, we can give and receive other people's gifts. Now, what if somebody has a way of loving I'm completely unfamiliar with? It's outside of my experience in my entire lifetime. Maybe I can only receive 3% of it, but that's 1,000 times more than I've ever had before. So as you open up, you can receive more and more. And in some people's gifts, you may be able to receive a lot of them. In other people's gifts, you barely can receive any. But that's why people come back again and again to the Becoming More workshop, because you can receive it more deeply each time you're in that environment, because you're more ready to let it in.
Okay.
May I make a little?
Oh, sure.
I had the experience in the first Cancun workshop where someone was sharing a gift. I had been trying to get rid of a particular dietary habit I had. I couldn't get off sugar completely. It was still something that I was craving. And it wasn't until I was able to again and again and again allow myself to receive, and my own inner healer went with my own timing. It's like, without that, oh, what do I do if life isn't sweet? And so all of these other things had to happen and bubble up in me that really allowed me to receive the gift that was offered. So it wasn't that I didn't receive it. It's that sometimes it takes time for integration, just as healing is not always do a technique and fix it, So we go at the pace that's right for us. And our own inner intelligence, the deep body, mind, spirit intelligence governs that. So thank you.
Thank you. That's great.
More questions? Have you had a good experience on more serious ailments? And that also is a related question. Someone asks, can QT heal the eyes? I have macular degeneration. So these questions are related. Can QT fix these various conditions?
We see quantum touch working with the body intelligence and spiritual intelligence to accelerate healing. It really depends on whether, well, I haven't had experience directly with macular degeneration in the sessions that I've given, so I can't speak on that particular issue, but we've seen all kinds of deep problems being transformed. Have either of you worked with macular degeneration?
Mhm.
Henri, what do you?
Definitely. I don't work with macular degeneration. I offer energy with people, and their inner healer uses it to help open their eyes in ways they need to, or open their ears, or open the blockages that are there. So we're not pushing away against anything, but if what gets you in the door is macular degeneration, then I would say, come on in.
One
Exactly.
fascinating thing. I remember I was teaching a workshop back east, and I think Henri, you were in the workshop where
Yeah.
the woman said, she had some, I think it was neck pain, and she said, like, oh, I can hear out my left ear. And I said, is that
Yeah.
is that unusual? She said, well, I haven't heard out it since I was a teenager in an auto accident. Because when the bones in the neck moved, all of a sudden the ear opened up. I remember another workshop woman had, she said, well, when I woke up this morning, I couldn't read the clock until I took my glasses off because her eyesight had changed so much. The body heals itself. It's a very basic principle. And when you provide the energy, the body does everything it possibly can to heal itself. And we don't direct the healing, we give the energy as a gift. The body receives it, utilizes the gift to the best of its ability. We've seen hundreds of thousands of kinds of conditions responding. We can't predict outcome, and it would be illegal to do that also, because that's called diagnosing or making medical claims. We're not allowed to do that anyway. And we can never really know how a person's going to use the energy. But it works just as well on skeptics as it does on true believers, because it's not about what you believe. The energy is actually doing the work.
Great answer. Next question. How does the Becoming Ageless course protocols differ from the supercharging techniques?
Oh, it's very different, isn't it, Richard? We're
Yeah.
running the energy in a totally different way.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that I can explain right now, about the actual technique, but it's very different and very, very powerful.
Yeah, Deborah teaches the supercharging also. And this is a unique way of running the energy we'd never heard of before. And it creates enormous, what Deborah just called friction within the system. When you're running the energy through yourself, you're creating a kind of friction as you're moving awareness through yourself. This creates massive amounts of energy. So we're taking it up octaves above what we've ever been able to do before. And it's an evolution of the work. And I'm so amazed that we both came up with the same idea at the same time. So that was a real confirmation of what this was.
All right, more questions. Let's see. How about working with hearing loss?
Well, like anything else, the body does what it can do. Have you had some experiences with hearing? I just mentioned one where a woman couldn't even hear through the ear and it came back.
Richard, in that particular example you gave, she had actually a damaged eardrum.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I don't remember that part of the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was in
You see,
1999.
yeah. You see, the thing is that we know the placebo effect can do miraculous things, but that's because for some reason belief can stimulate self-healing mechanisms in the body. But we can stimulate self-healing mechanisms without suggestion, and we can do it long distance. and we can do it energetically. And so then the question is the body capable of healing? And the answer in most cases is yes, to varying degrees, but we can't predict outcome.
And you don't want to predict outcome either.
No, we don't want to.
That's limited by conscious focus. Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you a really strange one. A woman who was helping me edit my Quantum Touch Power to Heal book was due to come over and look over what I'd written. And she said, I can't come. I've got this horrible allergy. And I said, well, come on over. She said, oh, I just feel too sick to drive, blah, blah, blah. And she said, she was a nurse. She said, I'm going to medicate myself for a few days and then I'll feel better. And I said, well, have you taken the medication yet? She said, no. I said, well, give me, an hour to work distant wise. And if you still feel like you need it, then take it. So I'm doing distant healing on her. And I'm running energy and I'm making her very small, putting her between my hands and running the energy through my hands. She calls me after about 20, 25 minutes and says, oh my God, she says, all my allergy symptoms are gone. My back stopped hurting. And she called me the next day and said, the calluses have fallen off my feet into the bed. I went, what? Now, I don't think I was running energy for her calluses, okay? It wasn't on my mind, but her body intelligence did the same thing. Then my friend Vinny wanted to experience distant healing. I ran energy into him long distance. And he said, I didn't notice anything. But the weirdest thing was the next day I'm walking, and he always walks barefoot, even in the snow. He said, I'm dragging something behind my feet. And he looked down, and the bottom of his foot, all the heavy dead skin on the bottom of his foot, he was dragging it behind his heel. And he was worried that so much had come off, he wouldn't be able to walk barefoot on the rocks in the snow. But there was enough that he could still do that. But for some reason, body and spiritual intelligence decided that having that dead skin off the bottom of his foot was important. So what I'm trying to say through these stories is it's not my intellect. It's not my intelligence that does the healing. The healing happens in its own way, in its own miraculous fashion, in what is actually needed, not what you think.
So many wonderful surprises show up.
Yeah. We had one group of people who were doing quantum touch every week as a practice, just practice sessions with each other. And they'd invited a friend in every week or so. They'd have somebody else come in. And they kept seeing miracles. And they finally said, we can't call them miracles if they happen every week. So they came up with the new name and they called them normicals. So when miracles become normal, they created a new name for that.
That's awesome. So we had some other really interesting questions.
Okay.
There is no time. So why does it take time rather than being instantaneous?
Well, sometimes it is instantaneous. And sometimes it would shock your body too much to change all at once. So, Deborah, you were telling me about the woman with the bunion?
That's right. I was working with a lady who had this giant bunion on her toe, and everyone could see it, and just running the energy. And the bunion was melting like really quickly. And it got to a place where it just wasn't there anymore. It was just disappeared. It was gone. And the lady looked down and was so sort of God shocked, as we call it, that the bunion came back. It was quite incredible. It was like watching something from science fiction, So, never limit a limitless power. Anything can happen, everything can happen. And it's about our receptivity, how much can we accept? Can we receive the change? And so everything, of course, we're working with the intelligence of the life force. So it's always working with kindness and consideration to our own self and where we're at and how much we can accept.
This is a really good reason for gradual healing. You see, if she had had like a few minutes every week and the bunion was just slightly changed week by week, she'd have gone, great,
Yeah.
It's like 10% better. This is wonderful. But when things happen too quickly and people demand the miracle right now, you may not be ready for it. But if it happened over 6 months, you'd have been, oh, isn't this wonderful? My bunion is melting. But sometimes we see people shocked
Yeah.
and they may regress. But if you can let it happen gradually, like what if you only get a year younger every year? Oh, I want it faster than that. Well, you're essentially, you stay as long as you like, but ultimately all death is suicide. And when people want to go, they can choose to leave consciously as opposed to have to be struck down by a disease or a truck. And they can go into a meditation and leave. But once we get past that point where we can get a day younger every day or more, then you're free and we can stick around longer. Now, we know that the energy itself slows the aging process. We're pretty clear about that. But once we raise the energy high enough, strong enough, long enough, well enough, then we're set free in that regard. And then we can live our lives in a more meaningful and effective way.
Great response. More questions. We got 2 people wanting to learn about how quantum touch can work on themselves.
Level one.
Level one. Level one teaches you how to link breathing and body awareness exercises together. And this is a process all by itself that slows aging. But you're not working on anybody until you worked on yourself. So what we learn to do is we learn to raise our vibration higher and higher and higher by using the breathing body awareness. The other person who is in our field entrains and matches our energy. We never come down to match them and feel tired or drained. We continue lifting our energy throughout the session, which is working on yourself first. Remember, Dr. Jerry Pittman wrote, in its elegance, quantum touch first works on the practitioner before it works on the client. And we hold the field of energy very strongly and keep lifting ourselves up, and they have to come up and match us. So we're actually giving ourselves a session in the process of giving a session. So we have to work on ourselves before the other person receives.
All right.
It's a win-win process. The
It's a win-win.
New paradigm.
Love that. Got a few questions. I'm trying to get to everyone's questions about people who are doing energy healing, not seeing the results they're hoping to see. I got a question. Somebody has, I believe we can heal ourselves, but I see no results.
You want to take these or shall I?
Feel free. Deborah, have you?
I would say definitely keep going, trust the process, persevere, never give up. Every breath counts. So continuously breathing and sweeping, and also let go of being attached to a particular outcome also. Oftentimes we're very invested in a certain outcome. But what if the intelligence is actually trying to deliver something even greater? So let go and let the infinite life force just work through you.
I would say a couple things. One is, are you using quantum touch? That's my first question. Are you good at using quantum touch? If you're using another method of energy healing, you may not see the same results. The second thing is, I created a whole nother workshop called Self-Created Health that teaches people how to find and work with the emotional causes. And sometimes your body will not allow itself the full healing until you've released the hurt, anger, shame, guilt, pain that you're carrying. The pain in the body may be a perfect reflection of the emotional pain that you're not letting go of. And people feel not only great, well, if they get to the other side, they're not only grateful they had the condition, but they're grateful for the lessons and what they learned and how they learned to love on the other side. Not only symptoms go away, but they're grateful to even had the condition. So if the energy work is not the answer to the question, we need to go deeper. And that's why I developed what I call self-created health, and teaches people how to precisely find, and Henri's working on the self-created health book, which will be ready soon enough, I believe. And to teach people how to exactly to pinpoint what the emotional cause is, and then a 7-step process of releasing and transforming to get to the other side, where not only will the condition go away, but you're grateful you even had the condition. Then you're on the other side of it. So if the energy work is not the answer to the question, we have to go deeper. Usually the energy work will make vast improvements or change it completely, but when it doesn't, there's a deeper lesson to be learned.
Okay, we got another one. Does Richard Gordon believe that quantum touch is similar to how Jesus did healing?
I'm not sure about that. I think that love is the answer. And what we do with quantum touch is we use the life force energy through the breathing body awareness, and we combine it with our love and intention. So there's probably some real deep similarities there, would be my guess.
I agree. Let's see. The other question about the art, Becoming Ageless, does quantum touch work on specific areas of the body, like the pineal gland, heart, and thymus? Or is it just energy to accomplish the Becoming Ageless process?
Okay. Deborah, do you want to take that, or shall I?
You should take that, because I'm
Okay.
not sure what we're allowed to say.
All right. Okay. Well, no, we're going to talk about everything but,
Yeah.
but the actual process we're doing.
The actual
Yes,
process,
we
yeah.
are actually working with the thymus, the pituitary, the pineal gland. We are definitely working on those, but we're also working with the whole system. We're working with the entire body, and we're working with octaves of energy that will go everywhere. And we're taking it to a place we've never gone before. So and then you just trust the life force energy. See, the body and spiritual intelligence is far smarter than any human being could ever be, because no one knows how to heal their own DNA. That's like way beyond human intellect. And yet it knows how to do that. So that's body and spiritual intelligence knows how to do that. And we're going to raise the energy to allow that spiritual and body intelligence to do the work. So yes, every cell of the body, and we're working with all the organs, glands, systems, and we're also focusing on the pituitary, pineal, and thymus glands, and much more.
Great.
Yeah,
Really
much more.
I have a question for you both.
Yeah.
So would it be fair to say that aging is not just a physical issue then?
Yeah, it's not just a physical issue. There's belief systems involved, and there's identity issues involved.
Okay.
And there's a lot of old baggage associated with aging, and that's what Deborah and I are going to be addressing. And Deborah is really focusing a lot on what I'll call the spiritual, metaphysical side of it, and I'm working on the energetic side of it more. So we're also going to work somewhat on the emotional aspect of it. And then I'm also going to be covering some of the nutritional things, because as I shifted and gradually made changes every week in my diet and lifestyle, I've just been feeling better and better. And I'm on no medications. I don't think any of us are on any medications. And we can set ourselves free. I call it health assurance rather than insurance, that I assure that I'm doing better and better things every week. And I really suggest, and I'm going to suggest at the workshop, that you make one small change every week in your diet or lifestyle. That's a little improvement. Like the bunion, you don't want to shock yourself, because the microbiome doesn't like it when you go, oh, this is my diet, I'm going to do this diet now. It hates that because it's not accustomed to that. So if you make gradual changes, it just feels good every step of the way. And so that's what we're going to do. We're not going to shock people into a better state. We're going to encourage people to keep making better changes and better choices so that you do exemplify how you want to be physically and emotionally and connected spiritually.
Yeah, so related to that, we had a question, does the Becoming Ageless work on the telomeres and mitochondria?
The answer is, of course, because the body heals itself. And if those are things that need healing, you don't have to direct the telomeres or the mitochondria. Mitochondria is really core to the whole thing. And that's part of the reason it's necessary that people become metabolically healthy. So that's something I'm going to talk about, is metabolic health. And other people are already up to speed on it. That's fine. I'm not going to spend too much time, but I'm going to give some very basic guidelines to become metabolically healthy. Only about, I think I saw recently, it was like 7% of Americans are metabolically healthy, and about 70% of the food they get is ultra processed, which is just really damaging, highly damaging. And as we just make better choices, those things, we need to do what we need to do physically with ourselves, but we can work energetically as much as we possibly can. And as we're making both of these changes simultaneously, we'll get better and better.
Great. Well, these questions are really interesting, so I'm going to keep going. Even though we're over time, I want to try to get to everyone here. So someone said, I have trouble controlling my emotions. Do you have to stay positive for all of this?
Absolutely not. At some points during the workshop, especially the one in Cancun on the first day, I would feel like, and I would encourage people like to really let themselves feel all that pain, all that anger, all that, well, I don't call it negativity. You see, underneath that hurt and anger is love. And if you can let yourself feel it and release it, then you can get to the other side of the joy and the gratitude. But if you're carrying around that wounded self, that self-pity and that vibration of suffering, I say, good. Let yourself, don't hold back. Let yourself feel it. And if you need to silently scream and make fists and open your mouth wide and let yourself let it have it. Let yourself feel it with all the intensity and the fullness that you can. Then it changes you, because now you don't have to carry that and you can let in the energy. So yes, bring what you have. Don't try to be positive. That's a very negative thing to do, because you're discounting your actual state of being, and you're not letting yourself feel what's actually going on. So you want to feel it with all the intensity, and don't hold back. Don't hold back. And then when you feel the good stuff, don't hold back. Let yourself experience it without resistance.
All right. Next question. There's been a lot of questions about, do you have to go to Cancun to learn this? Is there going to be an online version?
We have seen, at first when I worked on the Becoming More workshop, I was determined to try to figure out a way to do it online, but it's just never going to happen, because we get into these two circles where somebody expresses what gift they're going to share, and then I receive it, then I tell them the gift, and then I'm sending it, and then we move over one, and the circle rotates, and we get to the next person, the next person. There's no way of doing that online. The systems aren't developed enough where we can just keep meeting and connecting with each other one-on-one and sharing this way. So this is going to be a workshop that's going to be in person. It just doesn't work out of that. We may at some point make the Ageless workshop virtual online, but we haven't decided that yet. And so you can learn quantum touch in a video workshop. There are live online workshops with instructors, and there are in-person workshops around the world that people are teaching. So that is definitely available. Anything you want to add to that? Anyone else?
I think it's
So,
great to, sorry,
go ahead.
Henri.
No, you go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's great to be there in person, and really just really feel and be in that connection of the community. It's like something out of this world. It really is. It's beyond doing anything online, I feel, so beautiful experience.
The other thing I would say is having the experience of the workshop in person is vastly different than online. Because when you're actually receiving the sessions from another person, I made a video years and years ago called the Quantum Touch Smile. And this was a large workshop in Nevada City. And this woman took pictures of everybody when they came in the door and they gave their happy camera smile. And then she took pictures of them at the end of a quantum touch session, and you see bliss. Now, that's the difference of a live quantum touch workshop and a virtual one. Because in the virtual workshop, they're not actually receiving the session from another person the same way. And they tend not to feel the same levels of bliss. So that's why I encourage live, hands-on workshops when we're beginning, because it just has more impact on people. They actually get it. They get how powerful the work is directly. And so anyway, that's what I would suggest. So if you can make it, it's going to be about the middle of October. You can, I don't know the dates, but you'll find them. And so it's time to get it together and make it there if you're inspired to do so. But we do have, limited seating, so that's what's happening.
And I would really encourage you to, even if you've taken level 1 before, even if you're a practitioner or an instructor, come join and experience. I know I love experiencing quantum touch workshops when I get the chance to attend other teachers' classes, because it's just fun, and you get to be a student again and experience it without being the one in sort of holding the space for everyone else. You get to just be there for yourself. So come play. And
Yeah.
if you are new to quantum touch, you're going to want this time with level 1 to spend and deepen and really feel, and you've got a day after to integrate and get ready for becoming more and then becoming ageless. So all 3 workshops together would be a wonderful support. It's a gift for yourself and your family. They'll believe me, they'll see the difference.
Yeah, this is if a couple or married couple take it, they have just to be able to share it with your family and each other is an extraordinary gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a couple more questions. Some of these really interesting.
Okay.
How does having a hereditary disease such as diabetes and being on medication figure into the becoming ageless process?
What we've seen, and we've gotten reports over the years, is type 1 and type 2 diabetes have responded to varying degrees with quantum touch. And the becoming ageless is just taking the basic quantum touch and amplifying it much further and giving it a deeper context of what we're really doing and becoming more skilled and more powerful. So whatever the body can do for healing, we're just going to amplify that. Plus, we're really going to cover some diet lifestyle stuff too that has been very helpful. Some of the diet stuff I'm going to share has really helped people with diabetes. There's a lot of evidence for that. And it's anti-cancer and it's anti-this and all the degenerative diseases. We don't need to have degenerative diseases. We really don't need to do that. And if we get ourselves energetically, emotionally, lifestyle, nutritionally on board, we can stay healthy. So let's make the changes gradually or quickly and do that.
Yeah, we're getting questions about, are we going to have one in Europe or the United States? So I'll answer those. We're considering Portugal for next year, and we will most likely have more in the United States. So just not everyone can go to Mexico. And then one more question. When you share the gifts, is it permanent or temporary?
Well, I'm still dreaming in Spanish.
It really depends on how open you are. To whatever degree you're open, you'll receive them. And if you receive a gift, why throw it away? Receive it, continue receiving it. And because the group is going to continue working on the group distant-wise, because the energy works just as well long distance. I made a series of videos recently where I was aligning people thousands of miles away. In Portugal, Romania, and Dominican Republic, I'd get a physical therapist or chiropractor who I had never met before, and a group of people I'd never met. I'd have him measure. Then I'd look at the person on the screen, meditate for a couple of seconds and say, okay, that's it. And then we go to the next one. And we did 22 people in a row. See, distance is an illusion. We can work long distance. And when you send energy to that group of people and receive from that group of people, you have to open yourself to receive. It just doesn't happen automatically. You have to choose to allow. And then you allow. And as you get better at allowing, you allow everything good to improve, because allowing is allowing. And some people don't allow themselves very much. Some people allow themselves a great deal. So this workshop doesn't end at the end of the workshop. And you can continue opening up to the gifts forever. But here's an extraordinary group of people who have all learned to care and love and run energy, sharing their best with each other. And so it's a very special occasion, and it's worth the effort to travel. And this is an amazing location in Cancun. And I may probably stay a couple extra days just to drink it all in afterwards, because it just feels so good being there. And it feels so good to not have anything to have to do afterwards. And I think a lot of people are going to stay for a couple of days afterwards just to like drink it in more, because the workshop doesn't have to end at the end of the workshop. We can continue sharing gifts, and we can continue opening up to receive the gifts we've already received.
Especially in the Cancun location. You can just, I know I stayed 3 days after the class, and a number of us did, and we were able to sit out under the trees at the ocean, and we're able to just digest and share. And we continued to share gifts with each other, even though the workshop was not active. It was just a lovely time being in that field of energy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Richard, for that opportunity. It was great.
Oh, thank you. It's each person who brings their gifts and experiences with quantum touch just adds to the whole of it. And you brought so much from the almost 25 years you've been with quantum touch.
Great. Well, there's still a lot of questions, but I think at this point, if you have questions, please feel free to email me. We're just unable to get to all of them. These are great questions, though, and I'll be happy to either answer them or direct you to the right person that can answer your questions. So you can email me at jennifer@quantumtouch.com or just mail@quantumtouch.com. And we'll be sending out a replay of this call today with a link for more information about the 3 workshops, the level 1, Becoming More and Becoming Ageless in Cancun. And I appreciate everyone attending today, and look for the replay in your email. And Henri, Richard, or Deborah, you have any final comments for everyone?
I'd just like to invite everybody who's inspired to come explore this and take it further, because we really don't know how far this work goes. I feel like we're completing an octave. The Ageless is the 7th workshop that we've developed based off of quantum touch. So it's the completion of this octave. And then Deborah is coming up with a brand new workshop called Becoming Limitless. That will be the 2nd octave of the work. So there's so much to explore here. And if you've gone deeply into it, or if you're just starting out, we have so many different discoveries that we've made. And in my opinion, they would change physics, medicine, psychology, human identity, and philosophy forever. But as yet, we're just getting started in offering this to you. And if you want to join this journey, you're more than welcome to come join us.